Hi everyone, I'm Cash Miller. I'm a 13-year-old and a die-hard Colorado sports fan. On this show, you're going to see the woes and the ups of being a Colorado sports fan. You're going to see what a 13-year-old kid can say about sports. Today, we're talking the Pistons fired their head coach. I have some questions about that. And the Anaheim Ducks dropped a mighty good teaser. Could the Ducks be following in the Kings' footsteps for a new logo? And Birmingham dominates the UFL title game against Wade Phillips' San Antonio Brahmas. Is Birmingham worthy of competing with an NFL team? And Jake Bates heads to Detroit. Is Detroit officially a Super Bowl contender? And the Celtics, oh boy, dominated the NBA. How many wins did I keep track of their entire season? Also, today, we're also going to be talking about the Arena Football League. Are the struggles really over, or have they just begun? And is Montreal a legit threat to the Canadian Football League right now? And the Lakers hired a head coach with no head coaching experience. We'll see if the one of the best dynasties can hold that up. Also, lacrosse is also on this channel, and I'm gonna be discussing how I think the PLL is going this year, the Premier Lacrosse League 2024 locations. It all starts right now on CSN. And just as promised, we're going to be talking about the Detroit Pistons head coach firing. Where do we start? Let's start with the beginning of the season struggles, and then we'll work our way to the end of the season stuff. Anyway, so the Pistons were on a 29-game losing streak that was it was the longest losing streak in NBA history and the tied for the longest losing streak in pro sports history. Like, that is a historic run. Not the kind of title you would want to inherit. But the Pistons did go on to win 14 games, and people in Detroit should be thankful they even won more than 10 games. So that's and I don't know those woes, as you can clearly see. I'm a Nuggets fan. I don't really care what's going on in the Motor City, but it's big news. But what's crazy to me is the Lakers fired their head coach like the minute they lost in the playoffs. And a lot of other teams fired their head coach like just as the season ended. After the season was over, it was just, okay, you're done. You wait literally after the NBA championship game and you say, you know what? You're fired. And he's like, what? He even came out and said the other day that he is blindsided by this decision from the Pistons front office to relieve him, in other words, fire him. So, yeah, so this came as a shock to me too, because I would have thought that they would have kept him or something, like, because usually head coach firings happen late, like, not like before like the draft. Like, no, they usually happen like seasons coming in like this, and then the firings are like this, like very close procession. Instead, the season ended over here, and his firing was all the way over here. Pretty far gap. This is the normal gap. This is the gap that the Pistons left. Not only that, $65 million plus dollars were left on his contract. He was one of the highest paid head coaches in the NBA. Folks, This is a very bad decision on a lot of parts. I, I mean, I'm just that into sports to know that this is a terrible decision from the Pistons front office. I am sorry, folks, but this was a absolute terrible decision. Terrible decision by the Pistons front office to fire whatever his name is. But I don't remember. But moving on from basketball, from that basketball team, we're going to stay in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics win the NBA. This is the team that should have won the NBA. Instead, the Timberwolves beat us. Listen. T-Wolf fans out there that watch my channel. He probably could have beaten the Celtics. Because I know the Nuggets could have beaten the dang nabbit Celtics. This is a ridiculous, this is just ridiculous, folks. Why did the Nuggets lose? I don't know. Went cuckoo in the head. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they lost. I don't know why they lost. There's no good reason for the Nuggets losing. But Luka Doncic was a star. He was, supposed to be the guy who came out with the guns and was like, okay, you guys stay away from me. I'm the new sheriff in town. No, the Celtics were like, yeah, we're going to end that reign pretty quick. And five games later, all over, green and gold, everywhere you see in Boston, as another trophy is hoisted in Massachusetts. There's just too many trophies being hoisted in Boston right now, but oh well. Boston, congratulations. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, congratulations on winning the NBA. Brown, congratulations on winning the MVP. Even though your teammate Tatum was, a more talked about kid. Anyway, we move on to football after this break. Is Birmingham able to compete with NFL teams? Find out next. Welcome back. And while we were on break, I was just thinking what it would be like to live in a world where a football team would, go 32-4. But people, that's impossible. Yeah, it's just so impossible that Skip Holtz couldn't do it in the UFL and USFL. Skip Holtz won his third straight championship game as a head coach of the Birmingham Stallions. And if you have not heard of the Birmingham Stallions, please look them up, because personally I believe that they could compete with NFL teams. I'm one to make bold predictions. And I know a team that they would for sure beat. Carolina. Bryce Young fans. That gets it right. Oh! That was an intentional insult directed right at Panther fans, because guess what? That team right there won the Super Bowl over who? Carolina Panthers. What were the Panthers' record? They only won 2 games. 2 games. That was only 2 games last year. So Birmingham, they've only lost 4 games all time. And Wade Phillips, former Broncos defensive coordinator, was coaching the opponent team, San Antonio Brahmas, in the UFL title game. If you have never heard of the UFL, then go look it up. Go watch some highlights. It's a really fun league. It actually makes football more enjoyable. And if you have watched the UFL and you know what I'm talking about, you're like, yeah, I know what those teams are. And if you care nothing for the UFL, you can skip this segment and please subscribe to all other channels that don't carry UFL stuff. You're welcome. Anyway, Birmingham, unbelievable record right now. Like a 32-4. And last year in the USFL was their worst season. They only lost to the Breakers of the USFL and the Houston Gamblers. Those are the only two teams successful in beating the Birmingham Stallions. Houston Gamblers are now the Houston Roughnecks. They got rebranded by the XFL when the USFL and XFL merged. That's why it's called the UFL. And they just chose, and they both had teams in Houston. The Roughnecks for the XFL, Gamblers for the UFL. They chose Roughnecks. So, really, Texas teams have had a better luck against Birmingham than any other state team. In the meantime, Birmingham, congratulations on winning another championship and making my Brahmas look bad. Thank you very much. Anyway, now let's move on to Jake Bates. Jake Bates. If you have never heard of Jake Bates, please look him up and watch his videos. He is the most insane kicker that this world has. He may be the, I will declare this right now, and if in this 2024 football season, you can call me out and prove me wrong, and do whatever you want to me in the comments. Blast me in the comments for saying this right now. Jake Bates is the best kicker in pro football. Did you hear me? Best kicker in pro football. First kick since high school. He was put on that field, having it facing a 65-yard gap between him and the yellow sticks. What did he do? He drilled a 64-yard field goal and hadn't kicked a field goal since high school. Are you kidding me? Like, it sounds like something right out of Hollywood. And there probably will be a documentary about it, like, pretty soon. But he drilled, like, 3 60-yard field goals. Baltimore Ravens fans, you can say whatever you want, but Tucker is not good as Jake Bates. And guess who got signed by? The Detroit Lions, who are building and building and building up to win the Super Bowl. Right now, the 4 teams that have never been to the Super Bowl or even seen the lights, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Lions, and the Browns, are becoming massive threats. Repeat after me, massive threats to who? The Kansas City Chiefs reign. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, made a vow the other day that he would win the Super Bowl before his extension is up. Wow. CJ Stroud, he is maybe, him and Brock Purdy, I believe, are going to be competing for the GOAT. Competing against Brady for the greatest of all time. Those two are going to be fighting. I can't wait for it. Deshaun Watson and Cleveland Browns, they're going to be unbelievably good this year. Get ready, folks, because the Browns are coming. But anyway, back to the Motor City. I talked smack about Detroit, the Pistons, just a few minutes ago. But right now, I'm not talking no smack about those Lions. Those Lions are back and they're not leaving. Their coach gets red in the face when he is angry. That is the head coach you want. Not some coach who's like, what? What's going on? What's going on? Who's in charge here? I don't really care if your head coach is Mike McCarthy or whoever else. Listen. The Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl in the next decade. And I'm going to declare that right now. They will make the Super Bowl in the next decade. Jake Bates just makes them a whole nother threat. And Kansas City Chief fans watching my channel, please subdue your anger about me saying that Harrison Butker is not the best kicker in the NFL, and he's not anymore. Because guess who it is? It is Jake Bates. Jake Bates is the best kicker in the NFL. If you have no idea who Jake Bates is, please, please, please go watch videos of him. He is unbelievable. You will literally say, I want my team to sign that kid. Too late. If you're a Detroit fan though and you watch Jake Bates videos, you better start watching. You better be excited about it. Coming up though, the Premier Lacrosse League has gotten off to a good start this year. What are my thoughts? And meanwhile, things don't look so good for the Arena Football League. Is the Arena Football League struggles over or just beginning? Find out after this break. As promised, I am back and I'm about to show you and tell you what I think about. I can't show you because there's copyright rules and I don't have that money. But I can tell you what I think about the Premier Lacrosse League. Premier Lacrosse League merged in 2020 with the Major League Lacrosse, which meant my Denver Outlaws were therefore history. But then the joy came back when they announced that Denver was going to have a location for the PLL, and that team was who? The Denver Outlaws. So far this year, we are now entering week 4 of the PLL season. So far, it's been a crazy season. Like, we have had upsets of all sorts. But what's crazy about their schedule, it's homecoming. So New York, the Atlas, got things started with all the games being in New York, and then they don't have any home games for the rest of the season. But they do get 2 home games during that homecoming. So, and then it was, Carolina, then Philly, and now they're in the capital of Minnesota. So far, my thoughts on the PLL. Guess what? I'm going to present something that no other sports channel can do. I hand drew these logos. Look at that. And I'm going to show you the teams that I'm talking about so you know, like, what is he talking about? Which team is he talking about? We're going to start off with this team, the New York Atlas. The Atlas are 4-0 right now, the best team so far in the league. They have made me wonder, are the Atlas really going to be threats next year? Because they are showing that they are legit contenders for the title. Only unbeaten team. They knocked off Utah. They knocked off Carolina. The 2 teams that are supposed to be the best teams in the league. So the Atlas, they are just unbelievably good right now. 4-0. Can they beat their opponent this week, though? The Maryland Whipsnakes. Now, people from Maryland, this is a good thing because you don't have that many pro sports teams. And that's a pretty cool logo. I think it's pretty cool. Shows off your state colors. Really, I like that. Anyway, the Maryland Whipsnakes this year are 1-2, and that comes from starting up 0-2 and then going to Philly and being the first team to make a homecoming team lose their entire homecomings. Poor Water Dogs. But yeah, you Whipsnake fans have a challenge in front of you. My pick though is going to be the Atlas. The Atlas, I think, will beat the Whipsnakes. I don't know, probably 20-10. The Atlas have the biggest point differential, so keep that in mind. Next up is the Boston Cannons. Some Boston people may remember this team from the Major League Lacrosse. team, the Boston Cannons, which is why it says 2001. Well, they've played since 2001. They're 2-1 so far this year, and that's pretty good for considering like what they have put together. So yeah, I like that the Cannons are back, and this is one of my favorite logos by far. The Boston Cannons. They have some wicked good players on their team too, so I think that Boston's opponent though this week is my listen, folks. Being a Colorado fan, we don't like any team in Utah, and guess who their team they're facing is? The Utah Archers. The Utah Archers are 2-1 as well, so it'll be a battle of 2-1 clubs. Guess who the only Utah loss was to this year? Denver. Yes. Denver, I will actually just tell you the whole story when we get to the Outlaws team. But the Archers are the reigning champions of the Premier Lacrosse League right now. So that's a big deal. The Archers aren't quitting yet. They're 2-1, and I think my pick's gonna go with Utah, even though I despise that pick. But I think Utah's pretty good. Then Sunday's games. Now we're shifting to like the Sunday games for Minneapolis. Minneapolis does not have a team. This is a neutral week this week. The California Redwoods. I knew this team was going to go to California before their location was even announced. Sadly, they're 0-2. One of the two winless teams this year with Philadelphia. The Redwoods got a bye week in week 1 because of the Atlas homecoming. But 0-2 is not a good record if you are looking to try to win a title. Okay? The Redwoods are... I mean, they've been kind of in and out of it. I don't know. The Redwoods just haven't been, like, winning. I don't know. And that's pretty clear. 0-2. And then we get to my team, the Outlaws. Doesn't look as cool as the old logo, but it still has the classic barbed wire. Anyway, the Outlaws, lone win of the season. We are 1-1. We took a bye week last week. It was against the Utah Archers, and we were down by 9 points in like the fourth quarter and came back and won in overtime thanks to the number 1 pick in the draft. Thank you. I can't remember his name, but thank you, whoever you are, who scored that goal. The Outlaws are legit. I think that they are actually legit contenders this season for the Premier Lacrosse League crown. And then you heard me talking about this team, the Water Dogs. 0-3. That's a sad record. And they took their bye week before their homecoming, so that did not help at all. Clearly, it was 0-2. They're 0-3 right now. They're the only team so far this year to lose their homecoming games. Like, this is guys, this is a sad sight for the Philly Water Dogs right now. This is just, I don't even have words to comprehend it. Then we have the last team, the Carolina Chaos. No, it's not South Carolina. It's North Carolina. So the Chaos, yes, that is a scorpion for those of you who are a little sketched out by scorpions. The Chaos are 2-2. They lost to the Atlas, and then they lost to the Archers. Yes, that's right. They lost to the no. Did they? Yes, they did. So yeah, they lost to New York and Utah. So they're 2-2 so far this year. I think they're just gonna Philly. Between me and you, this is not gonna be a good team at all. Really, like it's just not It's just gonna go downhill quickly. Anyway, um, yeah, that's my thoughts on the 2024 PLL season. And guess what? I hand drew these logos for those of you who didn't catch that. Isn't that pretty cool? I use Crayola markers, by the way. Just a light board and Crayola markers. You wouldn't believe how much paper I have in my room. I have like almost every logo there is on this earth. Anyway, with that over with, we're going to talk a little bit about the Lakers' new head coach. And I'm not going to stay on it for a long time because I'm up against another time slot squeeze. But JJ Redick, don't know the man, never heard of him. I think he's an analyst of some sort, has no head coaching experience. But what I do know is if LeBron James wants to win another title, they probably should have just gone with some... Peace out, Fish. Peace out. They probably should have just gone with someone who knew what they were doing. And if he wins an NBA title in his first season, I'd be mind blown. But we'll see. If the Lakers can put together a good team, and I'm not saying they aren't a good team right now. JJ Redick is in a good position, though, right now, to make a run. I think that he's a legit contender for the NBA title. Coming up, are the Arena Football League struggles far from over or starting to slow down? Also, the Ducks of Anaheim dropped a mighty good teaser. Could we be returning to the Mighty Duck logo? Find out next. Welcome back, and as promised, I'm about to show you are the Arena Football League's return. Yes, folks that have been to Arena football games, the AFL is back. Not the original AFL, but some teams. And when I mean some teams, I mean 8 teams. At the beginning of the season, let's just start off from the beginning, shall we? This 2024 season has been just a mess. Folks, it has just been mud. In other words, I can't really think of a nicer way to describe it. Beginning of the season, there were 16 teams from all over the U.S. We had the Northern Division, which consisted of Albany, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and why am I blanking this other team? And Nashville. Okay, so those are the 4 Northern teams. And then the Southern Conference is made up of Georgia, Louisiana, West Texas, and Orlando. Okay? West Texas and Orlando left the National Arena League to play in that. So, if you're thinking, who's West Texas? Oh, is that the Warhawks? They're not the Warhawks, they're the Desert Hawks now. Just so you know. And then we had the Central Division, which consisted, get ready for Kansas teams, everyone. Salina, the Liberty, Wichita, Regulators, Southwest Kansas, Storm, and then the Iowa team, the Iowa Rampage. Then we moved to the Western Conference, Rapid City, the Marshalls, the Washington Wolfpack, Oregon Black Bears, and the Billings Outlaws. Right now, of those 16 teams to begin the season, only 8 have survived. And what has happened? Was there financial issues? Well, yes. Was there player instability? A lot. What made the AFL season pretty much a complete failure? Let's start off from the beginning. Week 1 was complete success, and I just figured week 2 would be the same. Then in week 2, things started to go downhill, and I was like, why is there not a team this week? playing. And I was like, oh well, probably a team that just postponed the game. It turned out that the Iowa Rampage had folded after one game and was done. Done. One game and never played. And never would play the rest of the season. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. 1 week later, the Philadelphia Soul deactivated after playing with replacement players. That's a whole nother controversy I have no idea about. I think that their head coach resigned and their players went with him. Like, is that Friday before their first game of the season? So, and the Soul, we expect the Soul to reactivate next season. But just minutes later, the Georgia Force deactivated, folded. What? 2 teams. In the course of 2 weeks, they'd lost 3 teams. And 2 within minutes of each other. What happened with the Georgia Force? Well, from my understanding, is they did not have enough money to pay for their hotel bills and were evicted from their hotel. So, evicted, for the younger people who have no idea what evicted means, kicked out, more or less. So, that meant, like that. But Hubbard, or however you pronounce his name, the original commissioner of the AFL, his wife owned the Minnesota Myth. And pretty soon after, she suspected the league was trying to sabotage her husband. Uh-oh. We're in big trouble. But before that, the Louisiana Voodoo folded. I don't know why they folded. I just know they folded, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea why. And then the Myth folded. The Minnesota Myth, owned by the commissioner's wife, accused the league of, and I quote, trying to sabotage her husband because they didn't like him. After the Minnesota Myth deactivated, the rest of the league's owners had an emergency meeting and declared Jeff Fisher, the former Michigan Panthers head coach of the USFL, was declared the new commissioner and pretty much just threw the current commissioner out of command. And since then, only Rapid City folded because their players would not enter the field and would not play. They pretty much went on strike that day of the game. Pretty crazy, right? Oregon was left out of the original realliance of the league and then brought back in as a independent team, but then folded later that year. And then we have just recent news from just yesterday. We have breaking news from yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are booking a trip to Salina from Odessa, Texas, may as well cancel your flights. The West Texas Desert Hawks are not playing that game. We do not know if they have folded, but we know that the Salina Liberty will be playing the Cedar Rapids River Kings instead. The Cedar Rapids River Kings are not of that league. Are not. I think they're in some other arena league. But we do know for a fact that West Texas is not playing in that game. We do not know why, but an unnamed player and an unnamed coach said that they are folding. The AFL is going under immense conversations to try to figure out if these rumors are true or not. So, for now, the West Texas Desert Hawks are no more. For now. Moving on. Coming up. Oh, yes. Anaheim. The Anaheim Ducks dropped a crazy teaser on their social media page featuring an orange sweater over top of a duck logo with an eye popping out of the logo. It looked through the little hole of the sweater like there was a logo change coming for the Anaheim Ducks. Now, as we all know, the Arizona Coyotes left Utah, Arizona Coyotes left Arizona to go to Utah, and the LA Kings just updated their logo the other day. You can look that logo up. It's pretty snazzy. People that lived in the 98s and followed the Kings are gonna really like it. But the Ducks have, but another person on social media decided to take things a little too far and posted a picture of two Anaheim Ducks players modeling the new jerseys of the Anaheim Ducks. My goodness. This is why, listen folks, I'm a homeschool kid and I know boundaries, and that's just crossing a boundary right there. Let the teams handle the stuff. Just don't. The leaks are done on purpose. If you possess a photo of a team, like pictures, then keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself, and don't post those until after the revealing. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a new Anaheim Ducks logo. And, yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. If you think that this logo is the new primary logo or just another uniform, leave it in the comments, please. Coming up, to finish off the show, the last talking points, I make my Indoor Football League selections for this week. Get ready for the Indoor War. And is Montreal the biggest threat to the Canadian Football League right now? Find out after break. Back, ladies and gentlemen. Just like that, I am back. So, before I get started with my picks, I'm going to talk about the Montreal Alouettes. They are 3-0 in the CFL season so far. And, well, they're definitely posing a threat. They have scored a lot of points and have pretty much soundly beaten every one of their opponents, which makes me think that the reigning champs of the CFL are legit threats to the league. So, we'll see. They beat the Red Blacks this week, and I follow Canadian football just for the fun of it. So, there you go. That's my whole CFL segment for the day. Now it's time for the Indoor War. I'm going to get ready to pick some Indoor War games this week. It is week, 15, and I drew these logos too. The Massachusetts Pirates visit the Jacksonville Sharks. Massachusetts is 6-6. Jacksonville got their first home win as a member of the Indoor Football League last week. 2-9 is what Jacksonville is. I think that this game, even though it's a road game for the Pirates, and the Pirates are sitting at 500, my pick is the Massachusetts Pirates for this game, ladies and gentlemen. All the IFL games are available on the IFL's YouTube channel. They live stream every single game. Keep that one in mind. That one's on Saturday, tomorrow. And you're probably watching this some other, I don't know. Tulsa Oilers head to Iowa to play the Barnstormers. My pick for this game is, well, Iowa is 4-7, and as the season is drawing very close to the end, we're like, oh, is this team really going to do it, or is this team going to flop on me like last year? Tulsa Oilers 4-8. I think that the winner of this game is pretty clear. I say the hometown team wins. The Barnstormers, get those Oilers out of here. Get those Oilers out of town. And then the number one team right now, only 10-win team, Green Bay Blizzard head to the Quad Cities to play the Steamweavers. That's a pretty gnarly logo, isn't it? 10-2 against 5-6. Quad City, they have been generally difficult to beat. So, but forget it. It's gonna be all Green Bay with this game. Blizzard, I think, win this game on the road easily. The Frisco Fighters, you may have seen videos of them. They head to where? Sioux Falls to clash with the Storm. And, well, right now, I think it's pretty clear. 9-3 Frisco Fighters take this one over the 3-8 Storm, but the Storm have been pushing the gas pedal. The Bay Area Panthers visit the 1-10 Duke City Gladiators. 9-2 against 1-10. This game's pretty clear. Bay Area wins by a landslide, I think. One of my favorite logos in the league, the Strike Force and the Sugar Skulls. Sugar Skulls are 2-8. Strike Force are 7-5. Strike Force win this game, I think 30. I don't know. I can't predict scores right now. Then the final game on Saturday, the Arizona Rattlers and the Vegas Nighthawks. This game is my game to watch. I'm gonna try to watch this game, but I set myself limits for what times I can be awake. It's 8-3 against 8-4, so really this game is gonna be tough to pick. My pick, though, I think is gonna be. I think Arizona wins this game by a good wide margin. And then, last pick of the day, and this game's on Sunday, the San Antonio Gunslingers and the Northern Arizona Wranglers. 6-5 against 7-4. San Antonio 6-5. This game is going to have playoff implications on the line in this game, but I think the home team prevails in the end, and I think that's going to be Northern Arizona. Look at how tough that guy is. All right. We covered a lot of topics today, and I hope that listening to what a 13-year-old has to say about pro sports was helpful and gave you a little more opinions than just the people talking on ESPN and all those other networks. And as I am from Parker, Colorado, see you next time on CSN.